Okay, so now we are going to, I'm going to show you how to flux this piece. Um, this is actually a piece that was originally from the lotus flower that I sent you. I was going to use white glass, and then I didn't like the way it looked with white, so I cut it all out in green because I thought the white was going to get lost, and I thought the green was going to look better. So I use gel flux, and typically when we stain glass, we use a soldering tip that looks like this. That creates that bead, but that's not necessary for what we're doing here, because we just have to. Your piece is just going to be soldered at a joint. Like we're going to solder you're going to have to solder your glass to make it look uniform with the rest of the ornament, but ultimately you're going to it's going to be stable at a joint. You're going to put it looks like you're going to put a glob of solder at the corner where the triangles meet. So that's ultimately the support point for your ornament. So what you do around the edges of your glass is just for aesthetics, right? So if you were to go ahead and remove, like I said, that the metal that's around your glass, I don't think is going to affect anything. And that piece that I circled in green, I think if you were to file that away or cut it away, is not going to be detrimental to the stability of the piece, because again, that's being soldered at the joints. Okay, I think that metal was just to make the glass itself, look pretty. So what I'm going to do here is put my flux on the foil. You can just put it all over because you're going to get this soldered right away. You don't want to let the flux on there for a long period of time. And when I say a long period of time, I mean more than an hour or so. So there's a couple ways you can do this, right? I don't know how much solder you want on your glass. So what you can do is just tin your edges, which means you're just going to put a thin layer of solder going all the way around onto the foil. And again, you can use your practice pieces for this purpose. And then just flip it over and do the same thing to the back edge. And a little bit goes a long way. Okay. So the flat pieces are done, but you still got to get the edge of the glass, and so you can just do this, right? And it's going to be hot. Okay, and I see that I got a glob here, so you want to clean that off too. There. All right. Oh, there's still a glob at this side now. So the trick here, when you, oh, my hands are shaking because it's hot. Okay, so stupid, just keep holding it, right? Is to either get a jig for yourself so that you're not holding it. But when you're doing the bead work like that, or this is just tinning, so you're just keeping a really thin layer on here. You might see little black specks. Let me see if I can get this better. Okay, you see those black specks that are on there? Like right here is black. When you clean this off, and I see copper foil coming through here too, so you want to make sure that you get that. Oh, that was black speck. Okay, anyway, that'll come off when you clean this, because you got to wash that flux off. So you're going to use, basically, you're going to let this cool. One other thing too, Jen, very important. Don't keep your solder iron, don't play with the solder too long in one spot. The heat, it will crack the glass, okay? So if you're in one spot trying to get that solder just right, just back off, let the glass cool down, come back to it. You don't want to crack the glass after doing all this. Although, if you sent me the glass, I could probably cut you a new piece, right? Anyway, here we go. Okay, so you can leave it tinned like this, but it's really thin. And that's probably the way that your piece looks anyway, and it'll match, and that's fine. If that's the way you want to keep it. I'm going to go ahead and show you how to put a thicker bead of solder on here, but I got to get my jig. It's nothing but 2 pieces of wood and some clamps. All right. And it's probably there we go, too deep for what I want to do here. There we go. Okay, you want to keep it at obviously a level field. Oh, son of a bitch. Okay, and then what you can do is take your solder and just build it up, and don't move it until it cools, because it'll just roll right off. And see how that beads up there, and then it just drips down because I have too much on there. Well, you don't have too much, but that's okay. If it drips down, let it cool, and then you're going to rotate it, get that even, and then you can just take it up and work it over to this side. Okay, and then that's how you build up your solder if you want a bigger bead on your ornament. Just keep it still until it cools, so that you try to get it as uniform as possible. Okay, and that's really, I mean, you've worked with solder before, you can figure this out. We'll flip it over. Let it cool for a little bit. And I'll get the next side here. Son of a gun, that is hot. And that is how you build up your solder bead. We'll let that cool. And I'll send you these pieces. Oh, goodness. My camera moved it out of view. Okay. Oh. You'll see it. I'll write on here, this is built up solder, and then I'll write on the other piece that is just tinned. And you can decide what you want your glass piece to look like.